This is what I get to wake up to. Cats throwing up on my floor. Damn demon. And here's the scene of the crime. Somebody needs to tell that saber-toothed monkey that you cannot eat dead flowers without throwing up. And you didn't even do anything. You just gonna let her eat the dead flowers? You ain't had nothing to say? Unbelievable. I really have not yet learned how to control intrusive thoughts from my past. I don't even know that they can be controlled. I used to really get stuck in guilt from the things I've done in the past because it's hurtful. It's like watching a television show or a movie and you're watching the most horrible, embarrassing, irresponsible times of your life. And I used to kind of fall into a depression when that would happen, but then I started having intrusive thoughts so often throughout the day that I had to find a way to deal with them. The only way that I found to deal with them is to watch it and apologize. I apologize to that version of myself. I apologize to the person that I'm hurting. And I remind myself of how much work I've done to improve since then. I reestablish my vow to God and to myself and secretly to my family that I will always show up and be the better version of me. I've learned recently not to say never. I believe never is a curse. As I go back and I review my life and I look at things that I've said or written down, everything that I've attached never to, I've done. So I've come to realize that the word never is a curse and I'm consciously not using it anymore. I'm trying to be more careful with everything that I do and be more conscious and purposeful. I was just sitting here and I was watching another mom who's homeless right now, has a bunch of kids, and hotel to hotel. I've been there. That was my life, and not just once. But I was on drugs, and I'm not used to seeing people who aren't on drugs go through stuff like this. And it made me realize that some people really just don't have life skills because they were not taught things like how to manage your money or how to not poison your kids through giving them foods that are not healthy and nourishing their body, or how to teach them how to behave or to be responsible. Those things are challenging to do, and if you're not taught how to do them or you don't teach yourself how to do these things, how are you supposed to know? And I'm just thinking about how blessed I am. And then I was thinking about how I got here, how I got to this apartment, how I got to this place in my life. And we were so close to losing everything. And then I'm like, we weren't close to losing everything because we didn't lose everything. But I felt like we were close to losing everything. And that was enough to make me pause and just be so freaking grateful for where I'm at. I used to be so full of anxiety and fear and bad decisions. And I did not think that I was going to come out of it. I'm talking about going from a 6-bedroom house, never having to worry about money, basically just waking up and keeping the house clean, to just being in the street, being strung out on drugs, having my kids taken from me for 8 years. It's just, I'm so grateful for where I am. And sometimes when I have these intrusive thoughts about things that I've done in my past and mistakes that I've made and bad decisions that I've made, I am shocked because it's like, who is this person? Who is this person that did these horrible things? I could never see me consciously, soberly doing the things that I did when I was on drugs. And even if it was being neglectful, my kids have been through a lot because I was a neglectful mom. You cannot be a fully present mom when you are high. You just can't. Before we moved into this place that we're at now, we were in a townhouse that we had gotten after my son had been hospitalized and gotten the same diagnosis that I had. So I got a phone call one day offering me a Section 8 voucher or a townhouse in like a housing project, but like a brand new one, a really nice one. And something told me not to take it, but I did. And it was a disaster. We ended up having to move 6 months later because I listened to some very bad advice. And right before I signed my lease, They asked me if our income had changed, and it had, but I didn't think that telling them that was going to lead to us having to leave, because when I finally did report the income, they recalculated it, said that had we reported it, we would have never been eligible for the townhouse to begin with, and we had to move. And because I had a prior eviction on my record, no one wanted to rent to us. By the grace of God and me trusting my intuition, I finally found a landlord out of 32 that did not want to rent to us because of that one thing. And I'm talking about, we even made 3 times the rent. They didn't care. They didn't even care about our low credit. They only cared about the eviction. But that taught me how important it is to have a good relationship with your landlord. And honestly, to have a good relationship with everybody in your life. I was walking around town the other day, smiling and waving at store owners and just people that are background characters to the town, always outside. Like, do you even have a house? You always outside. And I realized that I have a community. I love this place. I love the trees. I love the people. I love the mountains. And having a community matters. Having a good relationship with your landlord matters. When I tell you I pray for my landlord, because God help her if she try to raise my rent, I'm telling the Lord. I even pray for people I know don't like me. I literally can't help it, because at the end of the day, we're still people. I think to myself, think of the person that you cannot stand the most. If you saw them being physically hurt, would you just let that stand? No, I wouldn't. I can't think of one person, even people I pretend to hate, because I really don't hate nobody, because if they were hurt, I would help them. So you obviously don't hate them. And I can see myself in anybody. I see that I have the potential to be just like you, or to do the things that you have done, which is why it's hard for me to judge people, even though when I'm watching these YouTube channels and I see people doing things that I don't agree with, I do feel like there is some judgment, because when you look up judgment, it's jumping to conclusions about people. But 95% of me is watching because I want to see how people think. I want to compare my life to theirs and see if I'm doing a good job or not. Honestly, because sometimes I feel like I'm failing at life. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing really good and I need to be knocked down, because it's like, girl, you think you're doing something, and you're doing something because you used to not really doing too much. So now that you're doing something, you really feel like you're doing something. But if you look at everybody else, they doing a lot more. So trying not to pass judgment on other people, being grateful for what I have, and just always constantly telling God and myself that I am not going to fumble the bag. The worst of my life is behind me, and I do not see myself repeating the same patterns, because I started to recognize that I was repeating the same patterns. Every year the same thing would happen, and I would get an opportunity to make a better decision, and I either would or I wouldn't. And once I started to recognize repeated patterns in my thoughts and my behaviors, that's when I started to make some real changes. Do you take self-inventory? Are there things that you are trying to change about yourself that you struggle with changing, that you just see repeated patterns of behavior that need to be altered? Maybe like an addiction, or a negativity, a self-doubt, or projections onto other people. Or maybe it's something that you're doing with your kids. You don't want to yell at them, or you don't want to accuse people of something. Just anything in your character that you see that you've been trying to change for years. Maybe you're too loud, or you're just too pushy, or you try to sleep with women too soon, or you spend too much money. Any kind of repeated pattern that you have been trying to change for years. What is that? Once you can figure out what that is, then you can start to make some real changes. And that's all I want. I want to turn myself into the greatest version of me possible. I have very specific goals, and it's important to me that I reach them. And that's why I don't even tell anybody really what my actual goals are, because I don't want it to seem like I'm doing these things for other people, for them to tell me I did a good job. I want to look at myself in the mirror and say I did a good job. Yesterday, I reached 5,000 subscribers. And that was like low. It wasn't so much a goal of mine, but it was a stepping stone that I knew I wanted to reach. So when I reached it, I didn't announce it. I didn't post it. I did try to tell the kids. Two of them didn't care. I texted Judah Edward. He was so excited. Other than that, I didn't post about it. I didn't tell anybody, because it's not about other people telling me congratulations. It's about me congratulating myself. It's about me completing cycles and completing goals, something I've never been able to do. I'm the hype man, the idea man, the go-getter, but I was never the completer. I was never the finisher. I was never the executioner. I learned that from my kids. They will set a goal, they will go for it, and they will execute it expertly. And I'd never seen anyone do that before. I'd never seen me do that before. But I am very influenced by my kids and very inspired by them. And so now I have the ability to complete projects. I have the ability to show up for myself and see them through. So sometimes when I accomplish goals, I don't tell anybody because I just want to celebrate them myself. I want to be able to look in the mirror and be proud of what I see back. So I just wanted to share that with you because sometimes we need to look around and be grateful for what we have, especially if we want more. Because if God, our creator, nature, is our parent and the one that guides us, then as a parent, I would want my children to be self-sufficient. I would want them to be grateful for the things that I gave them before they asked me for more. If you want a laptop, but I see that you're throwing your iPhone all on the floor, what makes you think I'm going to buy you a laptop? So I think in this way, maybe God is so with giving us blessings. Take care of what you got before I give you more. So in order for me to do that, I try to make sure to always be grateful for where I'm at. It may seem modest, but I am rich. I am so rich in health and in love and abundance of impact through what I do. You can't tell me I'm not rich. And so this is how I manifest. You must feel it and believe it to have it. And you must be grateful for it to keep it and to get it. I love you. Thank you for spending time with me here in Fury World. If you're interested in checking out my music, it's available under my artist name, The Fury of Abyss, on all music streaming platforms worldwide. If you have any requests for video topics that you would like me to cover, let me know down in the comments. And if you are interested in spirituality or single parenting, I've got 2 playlists that you can check out right there. Love you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.